Greetings, Dr. Maizatulisa and fellow friends. I'm Sharvin, and today my team and I will present our translanguaging activity in an ESL classroom. Translanguaging ESL from L1 short story to English comic strips. We believe it is a different way of facilitating language learning to creative integration. So, before diving deep into this activity, let me briefly explain about what is translanguaging. So, basically, translanguaging is a relatively new term for an age-old practice that of switching between the languages one knows in order to maximize communicative potential. So, in general, it is the process of using multiple languages as interconnected resources in learning. Actually, translanguaging, the whole concept, encourages students to seamlessly switch between languages, drawing from their full linguistic repertoire to enhance understanding and expression. So, now, why translanguaging is very important when it comes to an ESL classroom or when it comes to the context of ESL? Actually, it acts as a bridge between L1 and L2, which is the first language and second language, helping students achieve deeper comprehension and more effective learning outcomes. Moreover, it supports bilingual and multilingual competence, fostering confidence in navigating between languages. So now let's comment. Let's focus. Let's talk about the focus of this activity. The main focus of this activity is about adapting a story, basically a short story, originally in L1 first language into an engaging English comic strip to integrate creative and linguistic learning. We believe um, allowing the students to create comic strips will make the activity way more interesting and exciting. So let's see why it is that way. Here is the description of the activity. So this whole activity it focuses on two learnings, two skills, which is first is reading skill and second is writing skill. Yes, let's see how the skills are tested. First, students will read the story in L1, where the students form groups to read and discuss a story written in their home language, which is first language, and ensuring mutual understanding. So basically, the students will be given a short story in their L1, and they have to discuss in their L1 in groups to ensure the understanding of the short story is achieved. The students can understand the story with a brief discussion among themselves. Now they will plan in L1, which is the discussion, where they collaborate within the groups to identify key scenes, draft, dialogues, and decide on a storyline structure. So when it comes to comic, we have all these elements like scenes, dialogues, and it has a storyline. So the students now will be discussing in their groups to to come up with the scenes, dialogues, and the visual representation. They're designing the visual representation, all the stuff. And now they will after that eventually the students will be creating comic strips in English. So basically now they will be translating these ideas they have discussed in L1 and dialogues into English, then visually depict the story through comic strips. So basically, in the beginning of this activity, the students will be tested on reading skills. They have to sit in circles, A short story, which is almost the length of 300 words to 400 words, will be provided to each group. So they will be reading in group. They will be reading the short story in group. So the reading skill is tested. Now they have a discussion at the end of the task or this activity. The students will be tested on writing skills where they will be uh, learning about how to write a comic, like how to create a comic strip, which is about writing skill where they will be learning about how to write dialogues. Now we take a look at the example materials. It is a culturally relevant first the short story. It is a culturally relevant short story in L1 to engage students. You know there has to be a relevance for, from the students. There has to be a relevance to the students and the short story. So we need to make sure the relevance, the proficiency of the short story, and also how approachable, how attainable the short story for the student is. Now, the teacher also has to provide a blank comic strip templates for structured activity. We need to the students have to be guided with a template. They should know how to uh, with the perfect template. They will know how to make use of that guidance to create a comic strip. So basically, we are giving a draft idea on how a strip has to be. And if the facilities in the class are optimum and conducive, online tools such as Storyboard that will be used to aid visual representation, or this all comic strip will be made manually. So let's take the actual scenario of what it might look like in this class. So this is the activity overview where um, for example, this is a class of there is it is a ESL classroom of 20 students, and the students will be divided uh, into small groups of 3 to 5 students with shared L1s for collaborative support. So basically, in this class, in Malaysia, L1 is basically considered as Malay. So we believe that the students share the same L1 of L1, which is Malay. Okay, and yeah. Now the students of 20 will be divided into 5 groups, which each groups of 4 students. Now the teacher selects a short story in students' shared language, for example, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil, which aligns with their interests and curriculum objectives. As I said earlier, the English proficiency and how attainable, how reach, approachable, how suitable the short story, the material it is for the students. So basically, as I say in this example, we believe the L1 of the students is Malay. So this group one will be provided a short story named Kisah Pendek Jambatan Hulu. So it is a short story of 300 to 400 words. So they will be so once the short story is provided, there will be a small discussion among them. You know, using their L1, they outline the storyline, choose dialogue, and assign roles. Roles such as scriptwriter, illustrator, coordinator, and narrator to make sure active involvement of the students is achieved. Uh, there should not be any slackers in the group, so assigning them with the roles will be and will ensure the students actively involved in this activity. So and also during this discussion, they will be reading, this 300 to 400 words of short story. So it really tests the reading skill of the students. Okay, moving on to the Next part of this activity, we believe there is two scenario where scenario one is the online tools integrated and the other one is how manually it is carried out. Let's take a let's take a look at the scenario where or scenario one where online tools integrated. Where and the online tool we have chosen for this activity for this specific part is storyboard tab. So basically, if there is enough facilities of technology, enough facilities of enough facilities to adapt to integrate technology in that specific classroom, the group one will be given access to the website storyboardbat.com to aid the task. So it is the online tool which basically helps the students or those who wants to create comic to create a comic with visual representation. It has the template. It helps the students to choose the visual representation according to their need, their want, and their idea. So it's just they have to express their idea in picture prompts, and they just have to find the suitable pictures for their scenes, and just have to add in their dialogues in this specific website. So here we uh, so this here we attached a simple representation, uh, a picture of what, how, and what is storyboard that.com is. So basically, if they are using this specific website, it is a simple image representation. They might create using the storyboard.com. So they will create a storyboards for their comic strips. That's how it is. The attached picture will look like if they are using storyboard that. Now we come to the scenario two, where it is a manual process of creating comic strips. Basically, if there is no facility of using online tools, scenario two will happen, or the manual process will be carried out to create the comic strips. So basically, the group one will write the script and draw the pictures that would fit the comic strip manually with the template provided. Um, so the template will be a guidance for them to create the comic strip. Basically, helping them to give description to each scene and create dialogues. And they also manually have to draw the pictures, make the visual representations for each scene or each dialogue. Where it is a very simple task actually, creating the visual representation, as it is a very simple short because the short story is very simple, which is culturally relevant, and so creating visual representation like drawing a simple house, the bridge, like it is shown in the picture here in the given slide, in the slide here, it is very easy to create those visual representation, simple visual representations. And yeah, this is where the task ends actually. So in addition, in the beginning of the task, the tutor, the ESL tutor or the teacher should let the students know that there is a flexibility of using L1 in this task, and or especially during the discussion. And at the end of the task, the students also should be reminded that this flexibility is only applied during this task, during that day, during that specific period of time, so that it won't become a habitual thing for them to do or to use their L1. Um, which will this will ensure the students won't have a habitual way of using their L1 in the class. It emphasizes the use of English, L2 in the classroom. And also, we believe that creating a task using comic strips is way more helpful, and it stimulates the creativity in students because somehow when they're translating ideas of creating these comic strips, usually the ideas about the scenes, the dialogues, especially the dialogues. When it comes to the dialogues, when they are trying to translate from their L1 It'd be very fun because the colloquial expression, translating the colloquial expression to English would be very fun. For example, in Malay, there are in L1 in this example, in this scenario, L1 is Malay, right? So the colloquial expressions that used in Malay dialogues, in certain dialogues, and they are trying to translate it or trying to translate it into Malay to the L2, which is English, would be very fun. It will be stimulating their creativity to how to be very expressive over their colloquial expression. And that's it from me.
Good afternoon to Dr. Maiza and my dear classmates. Today we are going to see the involvement of learning theory in the activity that we have created. The learning theory that is involved is known as cognitivism. So, what is cognitivism? Cognitivism is a learning theory that focuses on how information is received, organized, stored, and retrieved by our mind. It views the mind as a computer, which is also similar to an information processor. Okay. Cognitivism also emphasizes the importance of mental processes such as memory, problem solving, and decision making in learning. It also highlights the role of active mental processes like understanding, problem solving, and knowledge application in learning. This learning theory is very crucial in our activity because as the students have to decrypt the story, they have to decrypt the story into different languages from L1 to L2. So they have to go through different types of mental processes such as understanding and trying to solve the problem that they are facing right now. So cognitivism is involved in our activity. So let us see the first application that is involved in our activity. So which is also known as scaffolding. What is scaffolding? Scaffolding is a teaching method where educators provide temporary support to students as they learn new concepts or skills. This support is gradually removed as the students become more proficient in the language. This support, as they have become more proficient, the teachers will think like this support is does not use to them anymore, so they will remove them, allowing them to become independent learners. So, if you see from a cognitivist perspective, scaffolding discussions in home languages support students in processing complex information. Group discussions in L1 reduce cognitive load, allowing the students to focus on understanding core ideas. The next application is also known as active engagement. For instance, in the activity, the students need to use their existing knowledge to comprehend the given story. Each group will be given a story. They have to use their existing knowledge to comprehend it. A better understanding of the story will help them during the making of the comic strip. They have to understand the story so that they could create a comic strip by sequence, as they will depict the content in the story to form a basic storyline for the comic strip. Moreover, students need to process and adapt to the information that they want to convey in their comic strips. These involve several steps, such as breaking down the information that they encrypted from the story, given into smaller chunks, organizing it in a logical sequence, and selecting the most relevant details to be included in the comic strip. Once the comic strip is completed, they have to reflect on their strip. This is a very important step. They have to reflect on their strip by searching for areas that need improvement and devising it into a better material. And we see from a creativity perspective, it develops a comic strip. By developing a comic strip, combines language use with creativity, ensuring applied learning and retention of knowledge. In conclusion, by leveraging home languages for scaffolding and creativity for active engagement, students experience a supportive and stimulating learning environment that accommodates diverse learning needs. Thank you.
Let us now look at the benefits of this activity and why it is an effective tool for language learning. Firstly, this activity enhances comprehension and creativity. When students engage in tasks that require them to understand, analyze, and creatively interpret content, they are building essential skills. For instance, by working with stories or dialogues, they must go beyond literal understanding to explore themes, characters, and ideas. This deep level of engagement allows them to connect with the material in meaningful ways. Secondly, it helps develop English proficiency while also respecting students' linguistic identities. Instead of seeing their native language as a barrier, this activity treats it as a resource. By allowing students to use their first language as a scaffold, they feel more confident transitioning to English. This approach acknowledges their cultural and linguistic backgrounds, creating an inclusive environment where their identities are valued. Lastly, the activity encourages teamwork and critical thinking. Group activities like this require students to collaborate, share ideas, and support each other. This dynamic fosters an essential interpersonal skills while also pushing them to think critically about the task at hand. They learn to analyze, solve problems, and express their ideas clearly, all of which are vital for academic and professional success. While this activity has many benefits, it is important to acknowledge the challenges that may arise and propose effective solutions to it. The first challenge is the difficulty of translating from L1 to L2. Students may find it hard to convey ideas from their first language into English accurately, especially when the structures or idiomatic expressions differ significantly. To address this, teacher scaffolding during translation is very crucial. Teachers can provide prompts, vocabulary support, and sentence structures to guide students through the process, gradually building their confidence and skills. The second challenge is uneven participation within groups. In any group activity, some students may dominate while others remain passive. To overcome this, it is important to assign clear role responsibilities within the group. For examples, roles such as a group leader, a note taker, or a spokesperson can ensure that everyone contributes meaningfully. Regular monitoring and feedback from the teacher can also help maintain balance. The third challenge, however, is time management. Students can sometimes lose track of time, especially when they are deeply engaged in an activity. To prevent this from happening, teachers should set preset time limits for each task. For example, allocating specific time slots for brainstorming, drafting, and presenting can help students stay on track. Providing reminders or using timers can further ensure that tasks are completed within the given time frame.
Let's now reflect on the activity and consider the feedback mechanisms we used. Reflection is a crucial part of the learning process, helping us understand not only what we have learned, but also how we have learned it. By taking a moment to reflect, students can solidify their understanding and identify areas for improvement. Here are three key questions to guide this reflection. First, how did using your first language or L1 help you understand the story better? Second, what challenges did you encounter when translating your ideas into English? And finally, what insights did you gain about leveraging both languages during this process? Reflection doesn't end there. To ensure a well rounded learning experience, we incorporated feedback mechanisms for both peers and teachers. For peer feedback, students exchange their comic strips with classmates using a rubric to evaluate each other's work and provided constructive comments. This process focused on the clarity of translation, creativity in visual depiction, and linguistic accuracy. Peer feedback fosters collaboration and helps students develop a critical eye for their own work. Teachers' feedback added another layer of depth by reviewing the comic strips, providing detailed written annotations, and conducting one on one discussions. Teachers offered expert insights on grammar, storytelling coherence, and overall language proficiency. This dual feedback approach ensures students receive comprehensive guidance to enhance their skills. To conclude, this activity aimed to blend creativity with linguistic learning by adapting a story from L1 into an English comic strip. The outcomes will be remarkable. Students will improve their English proficiency, develop their creative storytelling abilities, and enhance teamwork and critical thinking skills. These are essential skills that extend beyond the classroom, preparing students for a diverse, interconnected world. Translanguaging will play a vital role in achieving these results. By encouraging students to use their full linguistic repertoire, translanguaging will bridge their first and second languages seamlessly. This approach will not only deepen comprehension but also boost confidence in navigating between languages, empowering students to feel more capable and competent in their bilingual or multilingual abilities. Ultimately, translanguaging transforms ESL classrooms into inclusive, dynamic spaces where linguistic diversity is celebrated and creativity flourishes. It underscores the idea that languages are not barriers but bridges connecting ideas, cultures, and people. Thank you for your time and attention today.